The bombs fell like thunder, rolling across the hills of Okinawa. Whole villages crumbled under fire, fields burned, and families fled with nothing but what they could carry on their backs. For weeks we lived in terror of the skies, never knowing when the next strike would come. When the order spread, "Hide in the caves," we obeyed without question. I was 13 then, clutching my younger sister's hand as my mother pushed us into a jagged opening in the limestone cliffs. Around us, hundreds of people poured inside, women, children, old men too frail to fight. The air grew damp, heavy with sweat and fear. Babies cried, their mothers trying desperately to muffle them. We believed the Americans would kill us on sight. That is what our teachers had told us. They were demons, barbarians, destroyers. The caves were endless and dark, twisting like the insides of some stone monster. We huddled together, whispering prayers. Food was scarce. A handful of rice, sometimes roots dug from the earth. Water dripped from the ceiling into pots we placed beneath. At night, the caves echoed with coughing, sobbing, and the restless shuffle of hundreds trying to sleep on stone. Days bled into weeks. The outside world roared with battle, but inside we clung to silence. Every sound, a rock falling, a distant shout, made us tremble. Some whispered of mass suicide, saying it was better to die together than fall into enemy hands. Mothers clutched grenades, knives, anything they had. We waited for the inevitable. Then came the footsteps. At first faint, then louder, boots on stone. Shadows moved at the cave's mouth. A harsh beam of light cut into the darkness, sweeping across our faces. Children screamed. Men raised sticks, useless against rifles. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would burst. We braced for gunfire. But the shots never came. Instead, a voice called out in Japanese, halting but clear. "Come out, no harm, we have food, we have water." The words did not make sense. We stared at one another, confused, afraid. My mother shook her head, whispering, "Trick." Others hissed the same. No one moved. The soldiers waited, their lights steady. Then one of them set something on the ground just inside the cave, a canteen of water, a wrapped package. Slowly they backed away. The package sat there in the glow of the flashlight. My sister whimpered. My stomach clenched. Hunger clawed at us. Finally, an old man crawled forward, trembling, and lifted the package. Inside were crackers, tinned meat, chocolate. He broke down sobbing, clutching the food as though it were gold. The cave fell silent. Then, for the first time in weeks, hope stirred. The old man's sobs echoed through the cave as he clutched the package. He broke the crackers in half, passing pieces to those closest. Children stuffed them into their mouths, tears streaking their faces. My sister licked a crumb from her palm as though it were treasure. No one could believe it, food freely given by the enemy. Still, suspicion gnawed. Some whispered, "It's poisoned." Others hissed that it was a trick to lure us out into the open. My mother pressed me against her side, shaking her head. "We cannot trust them," she whispered. "They will kill us." But the soldiers returned the next day. Again they left food and water. Again they stepped back, waiting. One spoke in broken Japanese. "Children, women, safe. No fight. Come out." His voice carried strange gentleness, so different from the hatred we had been taught to expect. Each night the debate raged in the darkness. Some argued we should remain hidden until death. Others, desperate with hunger, pleaded to go. Mothers held their babies, torn between fear and survival. Grenades were clutched, knives polished in the dark. If it was a trick, we swore we would die by our own hands before capture. On the third day, something shifted. A little boy, no older than 6, staggered forward. His cheeks were hollow, his body trembling. He crawled toward the cave mouth. His mother wailed, trying to pull him back, but hunger overpowered her grip. The boy reached the light. An American soldier knelt, gently lifting him. The child screamed in terror until the soldier pressed chocolate into his hands. Silence fell. The boy sniffled, took a bite, then another. His sobs turned to chewing, his eyes wide with disbelief. The soldier patted his hair gently, as if he were his own son. A cry broke from the crowd inside. Mothers wept openly. Some collapsed, overcome by the sight. We had expected brutality, but what we saw was tenderness. It broke something inside us. The soldiers motioned for others to come. Slowly, haltingly, a few civilians shuffled forward. An old woman clutching her cane, a mother with her baby. Each was given water, biscuits, blankets. No one was harmed. The Americans smiled, spoke softly, gestured for calm. Yet still many of us clung to the shadows. "It cannot last," my mother whispered. "They are deceiving us." But even she wept when she saw a soldier lift a frail elder onto his back, carrying him gently out of the cave. By evening, dozens had emerged. The rest of us huddled deeper, torn between fear and hope. For the first time, we did not whisper of death. We whispered of survival. That night, I dreamed not of bombs or fire, but of the soldier's hand placing chocolate in a child's palm. A hand not of death, but of mercy. By the fourth day, the caves were restless. Word spread that dozens who had emerged were still alive, housed in makeshift shelters, given rice, blankets, medicine. Some even whispered that the Americans treated them like family. Our fear began to fracture beneath the weight of hunger and hope. The soldiers returned once more, this time with lanterns and a Japanese interpreter, a thin man in uniform who spoke our language with a strange accent. He shouted into the cave, "We will not harm you. Bring your children. Bring your elders. You are safe." We froze. The interpreter's words cut through the silence, but trust was still fragile. Then an astonishing thing happened. One of our own, an old schoolteacher, stepped forward. He raised his hands, clutching the bar of soap they had given him the day before, and said, "If I die, I die, but I will see." His voice trembled, but he walked to the mouth of the cave. Soldiers stepped back respectfully. They did not fire. They bowed their heads slightly, letting him pass. Minutes stretched. Then the teacher returned, his eyes wide, tears on his cheeks. "It is true," he said hoarsely. "They are feeding us. They are saving us." A wave of cries broke through the cave. Mothers pressed their children forward. Elders leaned on sticks and shoulders. Slowly, in streams, we began to walk out. The sunlight struck me first, blinding after weeks in darkness. I covered my face, tears spilling as I blinked into the brightness. Around me, hundreds stumbled, shielding their eyes, clutching their children. The Americans guided us gently, handing out canteens, lifting the frail, calming the terrified. Some women still clutched grenades, knives hidden in sleeves. But when soldiers knelt to offer candy, when medics bound wounds, the weapons slipped from hands, forgotten in the dust. By nightfall, more than 1,000 of us had emerged. A sea of fast, gaunt but alive, gathered in the open air. The soldiers worked tirelessly, building fires, distributing rations, treating the sick. They set up tents, cradled babies, even sang softly to calm children who sobbed from confusion. I will never forget the sight. An American Marine, his rifle slung aside, holding a toddler in his arms as if it were his own child. Another soldier broke open his personal rations, sharing his bread with an old woman. These were not demons, they were men. When the final groups emerged from the caves, some crawling, others carried, the count was staggering. 1,200 souls saved. 1,200 who had expected death, now breathing in the night air of life. In the days that followed, we remained under watch, but not as prisoners. More like guests. Doctors checked us, volunteers brought food, even children's toys appeared from nowhere. Slowly, laughter returned. Slowly, fear dissolved. Years later, as I grew older, I often asked myself, why? Why did they save us when they could have crushed us? The answer was never clear. Perhaps it was mercy, perhaps it was honor, perhaps it was simply humanity. But I know this. We had been taught only hatred. In those caves, we waited for slaughter. Instead, we were given life. The war scarred us, but in that moment, among strangers who became saviors, I learned something greater than survival. I learned that even in the deepest darkness, light can find its way in. And for 1,200 souls, it did.